Danny, do you want to show the video you had planned? We've built it up quite a bit.
Yes, sir. I was gonna keep building it up.
Oh my God.
To take up space. Zionism.
I shout my Zionism.
I shout my Zionism.
I shout my Zionism.
I shout my Zionism.
I proudly shout my Zionism. Because Israel was not made to take up space. It was made to create a place. Because it means never giving up hope on the Jewish people, no matter where we're scattered.
If it wasn't for Zionism, there'll be no state of Israel. There will be no
This is
self-determination.
gonna fuck the song up for me. I like this song
Jewish
so much.
people have the right
No,
to live
they
safely
stole
in
the
our
song and
native
everything.
homeland. Because as a Black Jewish
They didn't
GI
steal.
professional, I believe it's a progressive value. I believe everyone has the right to self-determine and be safe. Jewish people have a right to live in Israel.
It's the Jewish homeland, and true Zionism can bring peace to Palestinians and Israelis.
There are 195 countries in the world. One is Jewish.
Zionism is knowing that we always have a home and a place.
You know, Shia Michaela Ingram, my daughter, who was born in Alone, Israel. She's a dual citizen of America and Israel.
I shout my Zionism not only because it's the 19th and 20th century Jewish liberation movement, but also because it's a prophetic call for redemption from my namesake Isaiah 2,800 years ago in the holy capital of Jerusalem.
I proudly shout my Zionism in support of Jewish self-determination and because we too deserve a place where we can be free from persecution and discrimination.
Jewish people deserve the right to be free and to live in a safe, secure, and peaceful homeland.
It also means never giving up hope on humanity.
And that's why I shout my Zionism.
I'm Israel Chai.
Yo,
Why would you do this to me?
bro. Well,
Why would you do this to the audience?
Bro, you all philosophical out here. I want to hear you philosophize that. I was hitting you up because I was so traumatized. It's like so laughable.
Oh my God.
It's so laughable, but
Talk about false. That's where my mind goes. It's false consciousness. Ideology takes various forms. Ideology in the non-neutral sense, in the sense of a set of ideas that distort reality for the interests of a specific class. But one of those forms is false consciousness. And the Marxist theory of false consciousness is that a specific society, when it's structured and divided through class antagonisms, where a small group of people benefit and thereby need the vast majority of the people to consent to an order that they don't benefit by, you need to create false consciousness, ideological mechanisms that convince people to consent to an order that is fundamentally against their interests. And often what this consists of is flipping the real existing state of affairs on its head on the basis of a very superficial truth or observation. So Israel, the Zionist project, presents itself as almost like a national liberation struggle, as a progressive struggle. And that's this very superficial reality that has no actual substance to back it up. In substance, it is the child, as Kwame Ture says, of British, Western, American imperialism. But the appearance is one of progressivism. And what they're doing there, it's substantializing the appearance. It's treating that superficial, hollow, baseless appearance as the reality itself. And in doing what they're effectively participating in is an inversion of the world. They're making what is one of the most reactionary, if not the most reactionary place in the world right now. It's up there in competitions with the state of Ukraine, where Nazis, walk around the streets freely with Hitler and swastika tattoos. But one of the most reactionary places, and a place actively carrying out a genocide, they make that into a progressive state. It's effectively turning reality on its head, presenting you with a topsy-turvy worldview. So it's the archetype of false consciousness. And let's not even elaborate on the fact that most of the people that they tokenized were black. That means that they might come from a long line of black bourgeoisies and the black political class and the black middle class that is not in tune with the struggles of the black freedom movement, not at least as black working people are. Uh, but I'm sure that's not all of them. Some of them have to come from working class families that are rooted in communities that produce the most revolutionary, the most anti-imperialist struggle we've seen in our nation, which is the Black Freedom Movement, the movement that gave us the general strike that overthrew the slave regime in the U.S. South and gave us the Second American Revolution, and for a period of almost a decade, some dictatorships of the proletariat in the U.S. South. Don't believe me? Go read Black Reconstruction from Du Bois. The movement that gave us the struggle against Jim Crow, against redlining, against the apartheid fascistic state of affairs that existed in the U.S. South, that culminated in the Third American Revolution, the Civil Rights Revolution in 1964, that radically transformed the nation, the social consciousness of the American people, effectively giving us the conditions for the possibility to build socialism. How the fuck are we going to build socialism if our working class is divided by the color line? So we beat the color line. We beat the color line, and now we can have socialism thanks to that revolutionary movement whose leader was killed when he was calling for an end to the basically genocidal invasion and war on Vietnam, and who was also killed when he was trying to organize workers on a multiracial basis and transform that political revolution that he had led into a social economic revolution, so that the gains that were made by the political revolution could be taken to its logical conclusions. So how do people that come from communities embedded in that tradition fall for this form of stupidity? It's false consciousness. It's an ideological operation where people are made to believe in things that are objectively against their interests, that are objectively wrong, and that means that the only way these societies survive is on the basis of systematically making people think of those societies in erroneous, distorted, upside down ways. The society, in order to survive, in order to continuously reproduce itself, needs to reflect an understanding of itself that is topsy turvy. So that's what's going on there, at least in my view.
So many anecdotes come up, listening to how you frame it. Over the years, of course, in the decades, we would always march downtown New York, Midtown, and we would go by NYU. And NYU had a sizable Zionist student population, and probably not as sizable of an anti-Zionist Jewish student population. But when we'd be marching out there in the thousands, I'll never forget this young group of young Zionist student women, and they would come out and they would hand us these pamphlets about how peaceful Zionism was, as they asked us why we wanted to kill them, and they would cry. This is a level of brainwashing and indoctrination and socialization. I mean, the historical parallels to what's been done in fascist societies. I mean, Israel is so fascist, and the overcompensation, how they brag about being the only democracy in the Middle East. Well, a genocidal democracy, apparently. So, yeah, that video, absolutely bizarre. It's so out there. It's like that classic slogan of let them destroy themselves, just let them be. Their own colonial arrogance speaks for itself. I mean, that's what, going back to Dr. King, his leadership, he knew the moral outrage sparked by the reality of Jim Crow, the reality of the Mason-Dixon line. And when television got a hold of that, and that's where the censorship comes in. Sean King saying he's only reaching like 25% of who he was reaching.
Mm.
Sean King is the anti-Zionist CNN for us, and he's been in touch. You know, the Palestinian journalists have gone to him. The Middle East is going to him. So this is a huge international question. The resistance is international. So let me share my commentary quick before I kick it back to you. I saw a lot of interesting comments too to respond to. Things are getting real weird, y'all. The indoctrination is real. This is beyond sick. Capitalism and miseducation produces extreme mental alienation. Israel represents individualism, greed, and manifest destiny of racism. You have forever traumatized humanity in the spirit of your grandparents' executioners 3 generations ago. The ancestors stand with the oppressed underdog, disgusted with their bastard Zionist offspring, manipulated by U.S. imperialism.
Mm. On the money. On the money. So
That's criminalized, though. Like a lot of things we're saying, the House of Representatives criminalized it.
yeah, we covered that yesterday. None of the squad voted against it. The one Palestinian member in Congress voted present. And when you look at the justification she gave for voting present, it makes no sense because according to the justification for voting present, that should have only made her vote against it even more. It
Why?
had to come down to Thomas Massey from Kentucky, the only person to vote against it. Absurd. Republican from Kentucky.
Break down why? I couldn't figure out Thomas Massey's position. Where's he coming?
Well, I covered it in yesterday's stream, but let me pull up the link and I can show you that. Let's see what the fuck. Here it is. So Talib says she didn't vote in favor of the resolution because it ignores the existence of the Palestinian people and brings us no closer to peaceful coexistence. The resolution states that Jewish people are native to the land of Israel without mentioning that the modern state was founded mainly by recently emigrated Jewish Europeans who drove over 700,000 native Palestinian Arabs out of the land in 1948. So that's just more reason to vote against it. Not in favor or present.
I wonder if she did it somehow thinking that message would be more strategically received somehow. I don't know what her political team, they're on the retreat. I mean, is that's the statement that needs to be said. Why wouldn't she say it? Where are you reading from? It's not the New York Times, certainly.
The piece from Dave DeCamp at antiwar.com.
And what was
Massey voted against it, not because he doesn't like the part where it reaffirms Israel's right to exist, but because equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism is deplorable, but expanding it to include criticism of Israel is not helpful.
So he was principled on some level. I mean, he's
some level, yeah.
I wonder how.
It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to the so-called Democratic Socialists that a Republican from Kentucky had the balls to vote correctly, and they didn't. The most they were able to produce was a vote present, which is the same thing AOC voted for with the Iron Dome funding.
You know the analogy of you organize a big party and the party's amazing and it's 4 a.m. and then eventually you have to wake up the next day and you look around like what the party was like. The smoke hasn't cleared. We're living through history. We're always living through history, but this is a historical